What's up, guys? So today I want to go over a video topic that I've been getting asked about a lot lately. I get asked the question all the time about how I track certain foods when they don't have a nutrition label. I'll start with donuts. This is what I got asked about the other day. I had some donuts and they weren't from a chain store, so I got asked how do I specifically track those for my caloric intake and the macro breakdown. Of course, if you're at a chain like, let's say, Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme's, any large chain is going to have nutrition information, and you can usually just search that on MyFitnessPal. For foods that are from more of a local place, like, we'll go with my last challenge video as an example. We got donuts from a local bakery. Now, when we first, this brought up some controversy in my video because we originally tracked them wrong. Originally, we just tracked them as what type of donuts they were. So an average donut is, let's say, maybe 65 grams, if you're getting it from like Dunkin', and that's going to be around 250 to 350 calories depending on what type of donut it is. Now, that's how we tracked them. Ended up weighing them. They were about 200 grams each, so that's about 4 donuts worth. They were a lot bigger. So it ended up being way more calories than we had initially planned out, because obviously a 60-gram donut is not going to be the same calories as a 200-gram donut. With something like this, the way I would personally track it is I would know what type of donut it is. Let's say there's cake donuts or raised donuts, what type of topping it is. So if it's glazed or sugar covered or cream filled, whatever, I'm going to find that on MyFitnessPal. I'm going to weigh the donut. I'll find an entry that has a weight associated with it so I can adjust the portion to how much the donut actually weighs. That way I get a lot more accurate reading versus, let's say you get a 150 gram cake donut. Now, a regular cake donut, let's say you log it from Dunkin', that might be around 60 grams and maybe 300 calories. If you get a 150 gram donut, that's going to be more than twice as many calories, but if you don't track it that way, you're going to be way off for your daily intake. And I mean, sure, it's honestly, it's up to you how accurate you want to be, but if you actually want to stay on track towards your goals, you're going to want to try to be as accurate as possible. Now, if you only eat out very rarely, like me personally, I don't eat out very often. I make almost all my own food. If I eat out every once in a while, I usually just slightly overestimate, and if I'm off, I don't really care because that's once or twice a week. Now, if you're eating out every day or multiple times a day, you're going to want to be as accurate as possible. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to stay on track for your goals, and you're not going to know how many calories you're intaking on a normal basis. Now, another point to make is I've been tracking my food for a long time. I weigh everything, so I have a really good sense of what a portion size looks like. If I buy something like a donut, I'm going to know approximately what the macros and calories are going to be like without even logging it or weighing it. One thing I want to point out is in MyFitnessPal, people can make their own entries. So you're going to want to look at the macros because the macros honestly might be off. So just be logical with it. Make sure the macros make sense. Now, the longer you've been tracking, the easier this is going to be, especially when you're eating out at a restaurant. Let's say you've got rice, chicken, veggies, whatever. The longer you've been tracking, the more easy it is going to be for you to estimate it. Now, if you're at a chain restaurant, let's say Applebee's, Texas Roadhouse, something like that, something that's a big chain that's across the country, most of those places will have nutrition information provided. Even if it's not on the menu, you can either look it up online or it should be in MyFitnessPal. In that sense, that's going to be really easy to track. Now, if you're at a different restaurant or you get substitutions, this is where a lot of people get tripped up. For me, I find this relatively easy. You can always make choices of foods that are going to be a lot simpler to track. So let's say if you get the mac and cheese, something really high in fat like that, that kind of dish is going to be really hard to track and estimate the calories. Let's say you get steak and potatoes, that's going to be relatively easy to track. You can get the potato, let's say you get a baked potato, get the toppings on the side. You can estimate how big of a potato that is. You can track that in MyFitnessPal. You know the weight of the steak and what type of steak it is. You can track that in MyFitnessPal. And A lot of times you can make it easier to track. Places will do, even if you get like steamed vegetables, a lot of them will put them in a butter sauce or cook them in oil. You can just consciously ask them to put sauces on the side, and then you can just track steamed vegetables. It's easy, and it'll be a lot more macro friendly that way. I want to stress again that if you're eating out once a week or whatever, it's a rare occasion, just overestimate, maybe don't quite hit your calories for that day. That way you have some room to play with, and even if you do happen to go a little bit over, you can just eat a little less the next day and it's not going to be an issue. But for those of you that eat out every day or multiple times a week or even multiple times a day, you're going to want to be relatively accurate with your caloric measurement. Someone I know, Corey from Legion, Corey Fit, she eats from the same sushi place almost all the time, and she has a specific roll that she gets, and this is a very smart tactic. She's actually, because she gets it all the time and she gets the same roll, she's actually taken it home and broken it down and weighed out the ingredients specifically, so she knows exactly how many calories are in that. That's not something you would want to do if you're just eating out on the rare occasion, but if you're eating at the same place almost every day, that might actually be a really smart way to go about it. So the main point I want to make is just to be logical about it. Now, let's say you're at a restaurant. Restaurants will add fat to almost everything because it makes it taste good. So let's say you get rice at a restaurant. You're not just going to log brown rice. Well, if you ask them to not put anything on the rice, you can log just rice. But if you get the rice or whatever and it's oily or buttery and you just log it into your caloric intake as just plain rice, all you're doing is lying to yourself and you're not helping yourself in any way. So you might as well try to be more accurate with it. And like I said, the longer you track, the easier it is to tell the calories in something. Like if I'm eating something, I can kind of tell how much fat's in it, how much carbs are in it, the portion size, just because I've been tracking and eating things for so long. It's a lot easier for me to tell. But for a beginner, honestly, you're going to be best off just ordering things that are going to be not necessarily macro friendly, but easier to track. Like I said, separate things, like you order a meat, a carb, and some vegetables, that's going to be really simple to track, whereas you get like a bowl of soup or a pasta dish, stuff like that's a lot more difficult to track. Just be logical with it. Try to opt for more macro-friendly options that are easier to track if you're going to be eating out or eating at a restaurant frequently. But also, if it's on a rare occasion, just enjoy yourself, and my suggestion would be to overestimate. That way, even if you do overeat, it's not going to set you way back. Me personally, I mean, I'm burning 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day, so I have a lot of room to play with. So if I'm eating out, I'll just overestimate stuff and not stress it. But if your calories are really low, you're probably going to want to make smarter options and try to be more accurate with your tracking. So to recap, just the best way to do it is find something similar to what you're getting in MyFitnessPal, and you can either weigh it or estimate it visually and adjust the portion size in MyFitnessPal, and just try not to like lie to yourself about it. Like, yeah, you get a whole plate of rice. No, that's not one serving of rice. Just be smart about it and don't stress it too much. If you guys have any more topics that you would like me to cover, let me know. And if you have any food challenges you would like to see me do, also let me know, and I'll catch you next time.